Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League. This is Tier 2, the second tier of our equal performance leagues. And we have a round number 3 at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix from the fantastic circuit of Imola for the first of the sprint nights for Tier 2. As we saw this yesterday for Tier 1. And it made for some interesting racing and some interesting tyre strategies along with that weather. I've got someone in the commentary box alongside me who knows all about that. I'm JPH, and joining me as always for Tier 2 is ARL. Good evening, ARL. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, no, nice to be back again, once again, of the week. And yeah, no, Imola, what a track here. Yeah, yesterday was definitely action-packed. Rain coming down, and just knowing when the right time is to change to that dry is so important. Anything can happen around here, so but honestly, what a track. So first sprint race weekend, of course, for Tier 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Imola very much an old school circuit in terms of no runoffs, and obviously a lot of places where there used to be runoffs, there's now gravel. So stepping out of line is going to cost you quite a lot, especially as we go into one-shot qualifying. For anyone who doesn't understand the sprint evenings for our IRL, one-shot qualifying to decide the grid for the sprint. We have the 11-lap sprint race followed by another one-shot qualifying to decide the feature grid order, and then a 32-lap feature. And obviously, with that one-shot qualifying, you have to get it right first time of asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one chance and one chance only. Obviously, you do get two of those, one for the sprint and one for the main race. But if you get it wrong, it is all over. But this is a point where you're gonna, of course, you want to take that risk to get a good lap time. But the drivers will still also have a bit of caution in them, knowing that it might just be worth it just to save a little bit and not put yourself all the way at the back of the field from one simple mistake. But this is a track that demands here.
Absolutely, and it's a bit of a drier first qualifying session compared to yesterday for this Tier 2 lot, so they'll be a lot more happy with these conditions. Good evening to Iron and Simon Rudd. Hope you're all doing very well. And let's go on board with NSX Berra. ARL, do you want to take us through a lap of Imola?
Yeah, no, let's go. So, obviously, down long straight, your main only overtaking opportunity, to be honest, through this track. Somewhat through the curves, coming up into the Tamburello. Get your braking point nice into turn 1, through turn 2, and get the power as soon as you can. Try not to go too much over the curves there. Does nicely through there. And then the next chicane, try and cut as much of the curve as you can. How much risk do you go? Little bit of front complaining there. Now into Tosa. Try and hook that front end as much as you can. Apply the power without the rear stepping out too much, and he does so just nicely. Now coming through here, very ballsy corner coming into Piratella. Gets it quite safely. He was very close to track limits there, but I think he's just okay. Now into Aqua Minerale. When do you brake? Set that car up nicely over the curve. Put the throttle. Deploy as much DRS as you can. Only one DRS location on this track, and he comes up into the next chicane here. Over the curve again, so much curves, you have to get that car riding over them, but he gets it nicely and cleanly down through here, and one more set of corners to go, somewhat similar to Elesmo's in Monza. He has the first one, then he has the second one, and now deploys the power of the wrist, sliding a bit there on exit, but he'll just be alright. Get the power down as much as you can to the line, and he goes P3 with a 16.3, but Hulkenberger takes pole with a 16.1 in the Alpine.
Yeah, it's good stuff that from Hulkenberger and Berra. Obviously, ARL, you had to do this qualifying in yacht conditions, I think, yesterday, but Hulkenberger is on pole position for the sprint race. Iron will line up alongside him. Berra and Wolf complete row 2. Juliana Manu and Eclipse Kiri on row 3. Row 4, Matty Rudd and J. Ray Bay. Row 5, Anthony Hunt. Must be said, Anthony Hunt has been put into the McLaren team full time in place of DX Team Matty. His teammate alongside him on row 5, O'Stephen and Jack on row 6, Coke, Sir Spud, row 7, DJ Madman, Mikey, row 8, Trist Games and GMB Surreal on row 9, and It's the Cat unfortunately validating his lap time. So he'll start 19th and last on that 10th and final row. And it must be said, it's great to have 19 drivers here tonight. A really nice full lobby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll always spark for some action as, oh boy, here we go.
Get your paddles out, people. We're going canoeing.
Yeah, no, this looks, well, Control C, Control V from last night. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, these do look, what would you say, Jordan? Wet conditions or winters? It does look quite heavy, but...
I think it's going to depend whether this rain's going to let up or not, because obviously this is almost like complete reverse of what happened yesterday. We had a very wet sprint qualifying, then a dry sprint race. Tonight it's a dry sprint qualifying and a wet sprint race. But we did see yesterday in that mixed condition race in the feature, a couple of drivers in Sydney and Paul Racetech starting on those intermediates and making it work for when the rain just lightened up a little bit in about 5 or 6 laps. So if it looks like that's the way it's going to go, I think we could see a few more people trying that strategy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It might be worth the sacrifice early on. Maybe a couple tenths of lap losing out to what would be the wet runners. But if it's going to come back to you early on, that does mean you don't have to make a stop. And of course, this being the sprint, Jordan, you don't need to stop.
No, I mean, they'd have probably all gone mediums anyway and done it on a no stop. Obviously, that's what the sprint's all about. Just absolutely lights to flag action unless the safety car comes out. Also, good evening to Sydney. Mike is saying that was dreadful. Bravo, good evening to you as we're going to head for the formation lap. Lee Harding, also known as Bruce, asking if we have to wait for an hour now before the rain clears up. No, we do actually use the wet tyres in IRL. They're not on a redundant tyre, but there is one person taking the gamble, and that is the Wolf on intermediates. Everyone else taking the full wet weather tyres.
Yeah, so clearly the Wolf trying something different to the other 18 drivers. The thing is, if this works very well, he is in prime position. But, you know, he's got to be in it to win it. But both Aston Martins taking risks. I noticed, actually, in that one-shot qualifying, Sir Spud was the only driver to actually do that on the medium tyre. So maybe thinking on saving a set of softs somewhere in the race. That could be a consideration.
I'd be surprised on the basis that we saw tyre wear yesterday was incredibly high. Especially for those softer compounded tyres. So unless Sir Spud's going to go on the basis of just going absolutely flat out and making maybe an extra pit stop, but we shall find that out in the feature race if it's dry. I mean, that's obviously the big question mark as well. But as everyone comes through on their formation lap, we saw some incredible angles on the grid yesterday, ARL, especially by Owen in the feature race. Which is one of the things I absolutely love about the feature that got added, what was it, a game or two ago, where you could actually park up in your own grid spot.
No, absolutely. And as well, the thing is with Imola here is, theoretically, it is classed as a corner down the straight in a way, but it realistically is obviously full speed. It is a straightaway. So to allow you to park now, if you had to follow the grid box to be completely perpendicular with it, you would essentially be going off the track, but allowing you to repark your car can now completely cut off your rivals, maybe if you get a better launch, or even if you don't get that launch. So it's so crucial, and we'll see it here now. As you can see, Hulkenberg not taking it as much through there, but you can see Berra really pointing that car towards the right hand side.
Yeah, and also for these sorts of conditions, it means that through this turn one, because amazing that right hand kink is actually notified as a turn, it means they're not having to turn the wheel, so there's less chance of them actually spinning off the grid. But here we go then, it's sprint race time for tier 2, Emilia Romagna. We are going to have the 5 red lights illuminate very shortly, and here we go then, the 5 red lights come on the gantry, and we are swimming at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix for the sprint. Who's got the best getaway? Everyone's snaking away. Looks like Clips Kiri's got a very good start. He's made a place. The Wolf going backwards on those intermediate ties. Probably to be expected this early stage of the race. Meanwhile, Hulkenberger does lead into Tamburello, followed by Iron, Berra, Clips, Matty Rudd. And are we going to get through cleanly through Tamburello in these conditions? It looks like so far so good. A few people swapping. Matty Rudd having a little bit of a scrap with Clips Curie and Juliana Manu as they come into the Villeneuve chicane for the first time. This is tricky in the dry, let alone in the wet. Well, that's a good piece of driving between Juliana Manu and Matty Rudd. They've kept it nice and clean, going side by side through the Villeneuve chicane in these conditions. And it looks like ARL, we're going to have a nice clean getaway through the first sector, which is incredible driving from everyone in these conditions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everyone's kept it clean and thinking about the longer way as Jack drops a few places. That's overtaken by Coke, but they're going side by side now. Coke and Jack going through Aqua Minerale. Who's going to be last on the braking? They're almost side by side. As there goes is that Sauber losing it now? As contact between the Red Bull of Coke and O'Steven. Jack gets through and promoted to 12th, but luckily still we are all going through in one long line.
Yeah, it didn't look anything vicious, like sort of malicious there from Coke. I think he was just trying to work out where to brake to make sure he didn't cause any accidents and just ended up on the inside as the Wolf overtakes J. Ray Bay. The question is, when are these intermediates? Oh, that's going to be close to the back end of Ira, but he just about gets it stopped in time. Will these intermediates now start to come into play if this rain starts to ease up? On to lap number 2, 10 laps to go, and the Wolf, I wouldn't say those tyres are really any quicker right now. So Spud gets past Mikey on the exit of Ravazza 2. Down the main straight we go, but it is Hulkenberger who leads the way. Clips Curie has been overtaken by Giuliano Manu going into Tamburello. So that Mercedes working quite nicely, and the two Mercedes working very well at the moment, and obviously they are leading the constructors at the moment. We'll go through that after the sprint race. But everyone at the moment either single file or making very safe manoeuvres right now, which is good to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And going back to the Wolf, he is staying with the McLaren of Ira. So clearly it's in a very close window between are the wets the better tyre or are the inters. But if this lightens up, the Wolf will be in an amazing position to, if it gets to inter conditions, he won't have to stop.
Side by side between Clips and Giuliano Manu going into Aqua Minerale. Giuliano Manu just about keeps that position as it's the Cat, who's a reserve tonight, gets past his temporary teammate Mikey and JMB Surreal as well. So Mikey's obviously had a bit of a moment probably through Piratella. Jack getting down the inside of, I think he was actually down the outside of O'Steven coming up towards Varianta Alta. Gets a run on the exit though. The tricky conditions, a little bit of contact. I think O'Steven maybe just didn't quite spot him there, and Coke's going to go through on the outside. Oh, big collision, both of them into the wall, I think. Yes, there's damage on O'Steven's car for definite. I think Coke's just about got away. Oh, and I think there was a bit more collision as O'Steven was trying to come back onto the circuit. He is struggling, is O'Steven, in that Sauber, and not quite sure really what happened. It almost looked like O'Steven's car just sort of wandered a little bit into Coke's.
Quite reminiscent of the George Russell Valtteri Bottas, but obviously that happened down into turn 2. Is that Coke having a look at the Ferrari of it's the Cat? No, it's not. But yeah, no, unfortunately just picking the wrong lines, both of them. Someone
on the move is Giuliano Manu. He's right on the back of Berra. Remember, these two came together. It's Saudi Arabia, and it cost them both the win. Stewards deciding it was sort of on both of their heads, and Racing Instant deemed in the end. But it cost them both a win. So these two will be wanting to not make the same mistake with each other and get some more points on the board. Remember, top 6 in the sprint race claim points. 6 for the winner, 1 for 6th, and no fastest lap point on the table.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you could just see the drive Giuliano Manu is getting is considerably better than Berra. As you could see it there, he's trying to get on the throttle, but that Sauber is going to try and make that car as wide as it can now, but Giuliano Manu has a chance to try and go side by side. He is side by side a little bit onto the grass. He breaks a little bit later, but Berra's not giving this up now. Still side by side, but now Giuliano Manu gets ahead and through. And remember, of course, no DRS under these conditions, so Berra is going to have to try and make it up all of pure pace.
And this has allowed Clips Curie to catch as well. So Spud picks up the first 3-second time penalty of the evening. Here comes Clips to the outside up towards Tamburello. How much ERS has Berra expended trying to stay ahead of Giuliano Manu? Whoa, that was close, but Clips rightfully backs out of that one. Did not have any right to the right-hand part of Tamburello. And he's going to have to rethink his strategy. But Berra's starting to struggle in these conditions as Coe gets back past the Cat towards Tamburello in the straight line. Meanwhile, the Wolf, he's on the back of Ira. And he is closing a little bit, so I wonder if those intermediates are starting to come into effect a little bit. But how much time has he really got on them to make them work? And he's going to have to get past Ira very quickly if he wants to take advantage of it, if they are starting to come into the right window.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jack gets through on Anthony. That was coming for a while. Jack having to wait behind that McLaren, but he's through in the head. But yeah, no, the Wolf is still making these inters seem like a fairly close tie.
I've also just noticed. I've also just noticed on the Wolf he's missing an end plate, which in these conditions, I mean, in the dry we saw Stinos yesterday, it didn't really affect him, and it's looking like it's not really affecting the Wolf either, even in these wet conditions.
Yeah, that's important as well, because as well you're going into this session where
Berra's all having so much pressure from Clips. I think Clips was down the side of him, coming down towards Ravazza, not quite being able to complete the move, but you just sense that RB is gonna get up into that top four, and here he goes to the inside up towards Tamburello. Is Berra going to be able to do anything about this? I don't think he will. Onto the brakes, side by side, room given, good stuff from Clips, and Berra just about survives that attack once again.
Yeah, no, you can just see Clips Cleary having a slide out of that corner, but you feel that Cleary has got enough pace to be faster even than Berra, but just doesn't have enough to get through in the head. So tricky under these conditions as well, as the rear is really crying on. Clips Cleary has a yellow flag. Who's that?
Trist Games down at Ravazza, yeah.
Ah, yeah, okay. Luckily, nothing. I think he's all intact. Yes, so we're still on the green flag, as you see now. Iron has his teammate right behind him, Julian and Manu, just backing off there. They're in a very good position, the Mercedes. They can't risk too much, whether they're in a party chat or not. Surely they're not going to put all the risk, because Hulkenberger hasn't necessarily cruised out ahead. He's still kept that gap to 2.2 seconds-ish. So it's still possible, but you feel that Julian Manu has got some serious pace in this sprint so far.
Yeah, he got the setup right for the race. I do wonder with Hulkenberger whether he's just sort of being a little bit patient here out front, just manage the gap, don't take too much out of the tyres in the wet, because the fresher you can keep them, the better you can defend later on. Is Clips Kiri once again looking to find anything, as I think Giuliano Manu, I think this is a planned switch for the Mercedes. Iron probably thinking, just let Giuliano Manu go, get him up to Hulkenberger and get them to fight, as Clips Kiri finally gets past the Sauber into Tamburello. And now, what sort of pace can he unlock in that RB now that he's got some fresh air?
Yeah, no, as well, visibility wise, it'll just be so much nicer for the V-Carb of Kiri. But yeah, no, going back to Iron and Giuliano Manu, Iron recharging their battery, knowing there's no point in fighting his teammate, and let Giuliano Manu through. But the gap has started to increase a little bit. Maybe Hulkenberger now responding to that. So we'll see how.
The Wolf going round the outside of Ira. He's gone very deep and wide. He's going to allow Jack up the inside, but he should get good traction as he squares the corner up. But the Wolf now starting to try and make any sort of move on that McLaren, because he knows time is running out to make those inters work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It hasn't really lightened up that much, I don't think, through my end. But no, you could just see the Wolf still has much better pure pace than Ira. And Ira sliding into Aqua Minerale. And look how much better traction the Wolf gets. But that McLaren is making that rear wing very prone to the visibility of the Wolf. But look how much more grip he's got. Wolf really trying to, but it's just not enough. But that's putting Jack right on the rear of the Wolf. So he's got one in front of him, one behind him that he's having to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, it's always horrible when you're in that middle. You can't really fully commit to one or the other. As Clips Kiri does unlock a lot of pace then. Fastest lap of the race so far. A yellow flag down in the Ravazzas. I'm not sure who that's for, but that's gone green very quickly. So maybe someone just running a little bit wide. Question is, can Wolf? Wolf just does not have the straight line speed here to get past Ira. He's gonna have to think. He's gonna have to push Ira into a mistake. But Ira's been looking pretty solid as Madman gets up into the top 10. The amazing thing is that this battle with Ira is not even for a point.
Yeah, no, but that's the point of the sprint. Try and go as fast as you can, as here might be an opportunity. We saw it last lap. He's going to go around the outside, but just breaks a little bit too late, and it's still not enough as he gets a little tag from Jack. I figure the Wolf's best opportunity is Tosa. We saw it last lap, and again, so close. Clearly, Ira just doesn't have that natural grip. coming out through there, but yeah, he's going to have to stay back again through this section of corners.
I always feel like if he can get a good enough run coming out of Acqua Minerale as Coca gets past Anthony Hunt, that's in Piratella. You always get the sense that if Wolf can get a decent enough run out of Acqua Minerale up towards Variante Alta, that's a good opportunity for him as well, as Jack picks up 3 seconds of time penalties for being a bit cheeky with the track limits, as I have just noticed Klipskiri now under a second to Iron.
Yeah, under a second, and as well, 1.2 now between Hulkenberg and Julian Amanu. Julian Amanu's got some incredible pace here.
He's going to be wanting his teammate of Iron to make sure he keeps Klipskiri behind him, because you know as soon as Julian Amanu is on the back of Hulkenberg, which he nearly is, they're going to lose time fighting. So Iron's got a big job to do for his teammate here. As the Wolf, I think he was almost fully alongside Ira going into Tamburelli, but couldn't quite find that door. He's got a good run up to Villeneuve. This is going to be a risky move, but it is a surprise one. Round the outside of the left, inside for the right. Lovely move, keeps the back end in check. Jack nearly not keeping his back end in check, which is not really what you want to have. But the Wolf finally gets past Ira, and now we can start to see if those intermediates are the right tyre.
Yeah, no, clearly now Ira has got the back. Has now got the Wolf on his. Jack on his back. Yeah, no, the Wolf. You can just see he's starting to pull away already. Just more natural grip. So the Inters seem to be a better tyre maybe at this stage as well. He does have that damage. We didn't see it affect too much at yesterday's race, but as that's Mikey gets through. Oh no, Stephen. Oh, Stephen's having a little look into Acqua Minerale. They're going side by side, bit of contact. Mikey gets pushed onto the gravel, and that's the Cat overtaking his teammate for tonight. And Stephen gets through with a bit of contact, but luckily nothing doing.
Yeah,
sliding his way.
Not sure Mikey would be too happy with that one, but especially after going side by side through Acqua Minerale. But we head to the front of the pack now because we have a battle between the Alpine and the Mercedes. Hulkenberger and Julian Amanu. Obviously, these are the two teams at the top of the constructors at the moment. Alpine 10 points behind Mercedes at present. So this is a critical battle because J-Rabe down in 13th. It's important here for Hulkenberger to just stem a bit of flow of the loss of points here in that sprint races. Klipskiri now picks up 3 seconds of time penalty. So now he's not going to want to battle Iron. He's going to want to make sure he keeps that gap to Berra.
Yeah, no, one Mercedes is the hunter, the other is the hunted as we go through these last couple of laps of the sprint. But how much risk do you put? You're 2 laps away when you cross the line from, it is the sprint, but, you don't want to risk, if you're not really alongside, do you put that much risk into trying getting the lead? But I'm sure Julian Amanu is going to try as much as he can. But Klipskiri did get a 3-second time penalty, Jordan, so it's kind of somewhat taking that podium chance away in the sprint.
It is, and the problem is he's not going to want to fight Iron too much to ensure that he keeps that 4th place, because Berra's currently 4 seconds away, and we all know around Imola, if you start fighting, the time loss can be extensive, and that can put you in that window of starting to lose places. And the Wolf now is less than a second behind Matty Rudd. Those intermediates are working very nicely as Mikey picks up 3 seconds of time penalty. Julian Amanu has a little look to the inside of Tamburelli, but thinks better of it. Not quite close enough. And there we go, 29.8 from the Wolf. Fastest lap of the race. Yeah,
but the thing is, this is going to be enough from him because he did start in P4, wasn't it? So he has dropped positions from that poor getaway because the Inters just did not have the traction. So can he try and at least salvage this to get a point? But he does seem to have the pace at this stage. Can we maybe have a move through Tosa from the Wolf? Because he did like to have a look around Iraz. He's going to maybe have a look on Matty Rudd. He's going to go around the outside, but he makes contact with the Williams. Luckily, nothing too bad. I don't think any damage sustained. But there's a car gone off ahead. Is that... who's that? Is that Trist? That's Trist. Okay. Oh, I saw Hulkenberg and Julian Amanu come through Acqua Minerale. So... bit of worry there, but luckily nothing too bad.
Yeah, obviously Trist, I think new to the F1 games and new to the sim racing world, so tricky conditions for him to get used to, but often, I thought he clipped the grass on the entry to Variante Alta. I think he did, and he ended up cutting the corner.
Sorry to cut in. Julian Amanu had a look on Hulkenberg. There was a bit of contact, But yeah, that was a bit too late from Julian Manu. Just not enough braking from that Mercedes. But he's going to get a chance now. This is the closest he's been
Side
on
by
this
side
straight
between
now.
the Wolf and Matty Rudd into Ravazza 1. The Wolf out wide. I think the problem is the Wolf wouldn't be able to complete that move anyway because the yellow flags were out in Ravazza as Trist was off the circuit trying to let everyone through. But it was side by side into Ravazza then for that final points paying position. But back at the front, Hulkenberg still has that pressure from Julian Manu.
Yeah, no, he is just far enough here to Tosa to know that that Mercedes is not close enough to send it. So as long as he keeps everything in check, he should be alright to keep this pace. But you could just see Julian Man trying everything he can. Clips Kiri right on the rear though, and I run through Tosa. But he loses it out in the rear. But yeah, no, next battle I think is between the Wolf. He's still trying to get that points position. Might not be too happy with that contact he had, but look at the better entry and exit of that Aston Martin. Is he going to go side by side? And surely is he going to be ahead into Piratella? Yes, he is. And that is P6 for the Wolf.
Nicely done from the Wolf. He's taken a gamble. I don't think he's got any end plates left, but that doesn't matter when you've got the right tyre on. He's driving an old school Formula 1 car without the end plates. Hulkenberg though, we're going to focus on him because this is the last lap. Matty Rudd's got back past the Wolf after out towards Variant Autos. That still continues on, but it is going to be Hulkenberg through Ravazza 2 to come home and win the sprint race here at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Hulkenberg wins from Julian Manu. Iron completes a Mercedes double podium. Clips Kiri fourth, will keep that on track from Berra by just 0.17. Matty Rudd has got Wolf just down the inside of him. Is the Wolf going to get enough of a run coming down towards the finish line? No, he's not. Matty Rudd takes the final points paying position. The Wolf is in 7th. Ira 8th. Jack currently 9th at the moment. He gets done by Madman on penalties. Jack will take 10th from Coke in 11th. Jay Ray Bay will have 12th from Anthony Hunt. So Spud is in 14th. Mikey will be 14th. Oh, Stephen 15th. Spud keeps now 16th. The Cat 17th. JMB Surreal will be 18th. And Trist Games, unfortunately a lap down, will be in 19th place.
Yeah, no, so the Wolf went wide into Aqua Minerale and dipped the wheel onto that gravel. So that's where Matty Rudd got the better exit, obviously, and repassed for 6th. But now Hulkenberg is your sprint race winner, followed by Julian Manu in the Merc and Iron to make it a Merc 2 and 3. Clips Gary in P4 with Berra in P5, and Matty Rudd finishing out for 6th. The Wolf followed by Ira with DJ Madman and Jack in P10. Then the likes of Coke and J-Ray for P11 and P12 with Anthony Hunt in P13 with Mikey, O'Steven and Sir Spud. And then rounding out with Bits the Cat, JMB and Trist Games your final positions. But no DNFs there, Jordan, so that's nice to see. But it's one thing to do it in the sprint, but now we've got a 32 lap main race to go.
And before that, another one-shot qualifying. I think the driver's going to get 5 minutes before we go into this one-shot qualifying, just to take a small break, get a bit of a drink of water on board, and a restroom break, shall we say. So whilst they're doing that, let's have a quick look at the standings. So in the drivers, Hulkenberg does lead the way in the driver's standings, so that sprint race win, very much appreciated for him. He's had 2 third places, so consistency very much key for the Alpine driver. He's on 24 points from Iron on 22 after that win in Saudi Arabia. DXT Matty, who's unfortunately had to drop to a reserve now, which is a big shame because he was right up there in 3rd with 20 points. Julian and Manu also has 20 along with NSX Berra. 6th was the Wolf on 17 after he won in Mexico, but was unfortunately not around for Jeddah. Lionel Griesby has 10 points with Jack on 8. J. Ray Bay also on 8. Oh, Stephen 7. He rounds out the top 10. Matty Rudd has 6. Daryl 4. Clips Kiri 4. Sir Spud 4 points. Madman has 3. Ira has 2. And Mikey Trust Games, Ronanosaurus and Coke all have 0. Coke technically on minus 3 points right now, after obtaining 3 points on his licence, meaning a 3-point deduction for him and his team. What does that mean for the constructors, though? Mercedes come into this leading with 42 points, Alpine on 32, so just the 10 points behind. Sauber have 27 with McLaren on 22. Aston Martin have 21 with Williams on 14, Ferrari on 10, Haas on 7, Racing Bulls have 4, and Red Bull have -3, which is a very weird thing to say.
I don't think as commentators I've ever had to see a -3 on standings. Hopefully that can change after tonight. But yeah, no, Mercedes though extending that lead already just from that sprint race. But these are where the big points are in the main race, and now they go into new qualifying and obviously for the main race, so they can change a bit of their setup now and use that race there, that sprint race, to see what worked, what didn't work. But of course, you also need to bear in mind is what the conditions are for the main race. If it's dry, then maybe you wanna bring the wings down, or if it is wet, if it worked in the sprint, maybe not change anything.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends what the weather's going to be like for the race itself. Because ultimately, you want to set the car up for that. And
Yeah, no, of course the big points are in the race. So, but this is a track where you do need some downforce, obviously, with all these chicanes, these fast corners as well. But we've seen where if you are running extremely high wings and the rain comes in, it just can completely transform your car. But then in the dry, you just feel too slow down that main straight.
yeah, it's a big thing around here. I mean, I think the biggest problem is if it's raining. If you're too low on the wings, you'll actually be even though it's quite difficult to overtake around it, you're very susceptible just to running wide, making those mistakes. So it's almost like that sort of balance of, do you trust the weather forecast in full if it's due to dry up? Because let's face it, if it starts wet, dries up, you kind of want that sort of drier setup for the end of the race. But then if it's the other way around, you might want the wet setup for the end, because ultimately you don't get your points till the end of the race. So you want the car, if it's a mixed weather race, you want the car to be perfect in that latter half of the race.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, of course, qualifying very important, but it's not really where you start; it is where you finish, because that's where you get the points. But as well, what is the race if the majority of it is dry? Do you go with the dry setup if there's rain in the end? Because we did see it obviously start in the wet, then dry up, and then we did see the rain just come back for the last 2 laps yesterday, but it wasn't enough obviously to put you on to the intermediate conditions.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It depends how I think ultimately it depends just how confident you are in the wet. Because if I mean, as everyone knows, I'm sort of from the rallying side, so for me the wet is quite a comfortable situation. I'm happy to sort of adapt in that wet weather. But for anyone who prefers the dry, they may opt for sort of more downforce just to make the car a little bit more stable. I think ultimately it just comes down to what you're comfortable with and what you think you can make work.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the balance, it's just a pure balance you want. Have a bit of comfort for both conditions, really. But no, going into this one-shot quali now for the main race, it's obviously dry as it can be. So now we'll see obviously the softs get put on. But yeah.
Yes, we're just waiting. Obviously, Coker's going to have to serve his qualification ban here. Now, the thing with the one shot is he's going to need to make sure he gets disqualified, because obviously if you just DNF, that puts you ahead of anyone who invalidates their lap and effectively gets disqualified from the session. So I think we'll probably see Coke just stop on circuit and just let the game disqualify him, and hopefully that will put him at the back of the pack. But obviously, force majeure, if someone does it, that can't really be helped, because Coke would have served that, he wouldn't have qualified at all. But we are awaiting the ready up signal, and I
As well, another thing to mention is the drivers will see the weather radar for what would be in game tomorrow, but obviously for the main race. So Maybe maybe a few setup changes given time with that, but yeah, no, yeah, again, we have that case of how much risk you put into this lap. You need to make sure you get that lap on the board, but if you take it too safe, you just lose so much time, especially through Variante of the Tamburello, through the Vilna, through Tosa, Piratella as well. Very easy to invalidate going wide, and of course Aqua Minerale up the hill. And of course Ravazza, you got to make sure you don't cut too much of that curb, keep the car in check, and just get that lap on the board, but not too slow.
It's fair to say every corner on this circuit, except for turn one, it's a chance to invalidate your lap, I think, around here.
Yeah, I think unlike Saudi, there were a few opportunities to invalidate in Saudi, of course, but where you're closer to the wall, it does give you a bit more. I don't want to say margin because if you go into the wall, it's you don't have really any margins. Regardless, the walls aren't as close as they are in Saudi. You still have no margins really here. It's either the gravel or if you get away with it, an invalidation. But we are going to get going of the second qualifying for the main race now.
Yeah, feature race qualifying coming up. Another one shot. You got one shot. Are you going to take it? We are going to go on board with Matty Rudd. So let's go for a ride on it for Emilia then. On board the Williams through turn one. Absolutely flat chat all the way down to Tamburello. Hit the brakes. About 75 there for Matty because he wants to get the front end tucked in, and that's actually quite a nice line through Tamburello. Just smooth, which is what you need around here. Up to Villeneuve. 50 metres on the brakes, lob it into the left, bring it down a cog for the right, get yourself back over and hit the brakes for Tosa. Coke has been disqualified, which is a good start because it means he will be disqualified at the back of the pack. Up the hill into Piratella, again another commitment corner, just lob the car and hope it sticks as you then head towards Aquinere. Keep it flat and then brake in a straight line. Then you just want to square this up as you go up the hill, trying to lay the traction down. Up to Variante Outer, 50 metres on the brakes, clobber the curb on the right to not take as much on the left, to just open up and smooth it out. As you then go down the hill towards the two Ravaxas, Clips Kiri currently in the lead. You've got to be careful down here. Downhill braking, slightly off camber, and then just bring it back in for Ravazza 2. You just kind of always want to just lift off and just let the car sort of turn in. Hulkenberger takes the pole position once again. Clips Kiri second, and Matty, who we're on board with, got 6th place. In the Williams, we've had a few people, I think JMB Surreal, DNF'd. Coke the Cat, Wolf, Berra, Madman, all disqualified for... Obviously Coke, Ira is now disqualified as well. Question is, how is that order going to shape up?
Yeah, no, Berra actually was up there fighting for that pole position, but I think something happened to him in the Variante of Villeneuve on the exit, so he's going to have to be at the back of the field.
And looking at that, Coke's going to get 13th. I don't know whether there's going to be a rule to get him to drop back at the start, I'm not sure, but unfortunately that was kind of out of his control, everyone else not setting a time. But Hulkenberger lines up on pole position with Clips Kiri, Jolien and Manu in 3rd with Jay Rabe, Iron and Matty Rudd, Anthony Hunt is 7th, Sir Spud 8th, Jack is 9th, O'Stephen 10th, Trist Games 11th, JMB Cyril he crashed out, he'll get 12th. Coke, the Cat, Ira, Wolf, Berra, Madman all line up underneath.
Now, Coke starts 13th, which for a qualifying man, it's not that bad. I'm just wondering, does that stay like that?
Well, the problem is it's sort of force majeure, really, isn't it? It's one of those sort of weird ones where he's done exactly what he's been told to do, which is DQ himself and keep himself at the back. I think the bigger problem here is more the fact that the game, rather than setting a no time for those that invalidate their laps, it disqualifies them, which is a little bit silly in my opinion. It should just go down as a no time, almost like you do in real life. It's just a deleted time. But we can't control the game, so yeah, I'm not quite sure how that one will go, but he's done everything correctly, really.
Yeah, no, we did see him. Obviously, the notification popping up. He was the first one to DSQ. Yeah, a few little odd things on these current F1 games. We wish these could get sorted, but more importantly, Jordan, it is a dry start to this race.
A dry start, and we've got a mix of tyres. Everyone on mediums except for Jack, Coke, Bera, Madman, and Mikey. They all start on the hard compound of tyre. Now, whether that means some of them are thinking hard's because it's going to become wet, who knows? We don't have a weather forecast in front of us, so it's going to be interesting to find out what happens during this race. And it looks like Coke has had a contact with someone. Ira, the Wolf, and Bera have also ended up clipping each other, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but they've all been teleported back to the grid.
Yeah, so as well, surprising to see Bera and the Wolf down there, so they obviously didn't get their laps in, DSQing in that one shot. But yeah, no, that split strategy between the mediums, obviously majority on the medium tyre, but having those runners, few runners on the hard, it can really change how, you know, the other drivers around them decide when to pit, when to make use of that hard tyre as well. They'll somewhat learn from, we've not had any hard running yet so far tonight. Obviously sprint, you will usually never run the hard unless it's a very, very high demanding track on downforce. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how the two tyres fare.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting, and the other thing is also how the wear is going to affect, because we did see, I think last night, the mediums go about sort of 7 laps, and then they were sort of dead in the water. Drivers started to struggle on them, so strategy could be quite interesting. I mean, what would you be looking at? I mean, if we were looking at a fully dry race, would you be looking at trying a one-stop, or would you consider maybe just going two-stop and being a bit more aggressive with the tyres?
The thing is, we've seen how important track position is here. It's not easy to clear out, but if you have that significant tyre delta, is what they call it, if you've got that much better pace, then it's worth it. Personally, I would go with the one stopper. I mean, last night I went on the hards for half of the race, and they were absolutely fine towards the end. Yes, the temperatures were cooler, but I do think the one stopper ultimately is the slightly faster way to go here.
So as the drivers line up on the grid, that's one hell of an angle from Trist Games. That's impressive considering he's on a straighter part of the circuit. And even Mikey's decided he's going to park at a 45-degree angle. But we head for the 5 red lights for the second time tonight, and for the feature race we are racing at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. 32 laps away for us. Who's got the best getaway? It looks like Clips has had a fantastic start at the top of the field, up into the lead, coming down towards Tamburello, and he should get a clean run in. Yes, he does. Hockenberger being attacked by Giuliano Manu, but not quite finding the room. And once again, we're clean through Tamburello, which is fantastic to see as we head through Villeneuve, as we come to the end of Sector 1. And it looks like we've got O'Stephen and Sir Spud. We've got a spinner of Jack TM53 Synopsis. I think he's been collected, but luckily no one's retired yet. I think Ira's collected him. Yes, he's got a 10-second time penalty for a severe collision. But luckily everyone's still just about in this race. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but all of a sudden Jack was sideways, which is a shame because we almost had another clean Sector 1. But apart from that, everyone else is still racing through single file now as they go through Accu Minerale. And everyone now just starting to settle down for the first lap.
Yeah, no, it was one of the Aston Martins actually that went onto the grass into
the Wolf.
No, there's an Aston Martin of the Wolf as well. Goes off. Oh, this has been a disaster for the Aston Martin. Sir Spud going off and collecting Jack, and now he's going to have pressure because he had to slow down. He's got the McLaren behind him, but he's not really going to make a move through there. But yeah, no, sorry to go back, but Sir Spud was the one who, I believe, went off and had to collect Jack, unfortunately. Not much he could have really done there, but luckily we're all still 19 drivers in this race.
Yeah, hopefully Jack hasn't picked up any damage, though I think he might have done because he got collected by Ira. He hasn't gone in the pit, so if he has got damage, it isn't too bad. I can see Coke with a bit of damage and an end fence gone from Jack's car, so luckily it shouldn't affect him too badly. Stephen on the back of Anthony Hunt as we come into Tosa for the second time of 32. Anthony had a little bit wide and Stephen all over the inside curb, but they've got through still and they're still driving forwards. The Wolf now all over Baron. It's worth noting Coke down in 17th, so it's almost like he really has served that qualifying ban. And he also does have damage as well on top, so that lucky break of getting 13th after DQing, not quite paying off. Mikey, I think, just being overtaken by JMB Surreal, although actually no, it's Mikey making a move on JMB Surreal. I think he just got past Madman as well. The two Hasses, I think, have damage, both with end fences missing, so lots of carbon fibre left on the circuit.
Yeah, no, plenty of carbon fibre, but at least the good thing is they will serve as stop at different times. Here's the Red Bull going on to the Ferrari of Itzakat. He goes a little bit wide, but the Ferrari has to go off as Berra's out. Berra's lost the rear on the final corner, as Coke nearly does the same thing as well. As I believe we have a safety car, is it, or VSC?
It's virtual safety car for now. I can't see the Jordan Grand Prix dot on the map.
Right.
But we do have Madman in. Jack's in the pits, obviously, for new front wings. This is perfect opportunity for them, but it's not ideal for Jack because he's on the hard compound tyre, same as Madman. But Berra, unfortunately, out of this Grand Prix at the exit of Ravazza 2. It is one of those corners that if you're not careful, you just lean on the tyre too much. As Anthony Hunt picks up a drive-through for speeding under the virtual safety car. Easily done on the restart. And to compound his issue, he actually gets overtaken by O'Steven on the restart as well. But yeah, spinning on Ravazza 2, not a hard thing to do, unfortunately, especially if you're leaning on the tyre a little too much as Coke gets past JMB.
Yeah, it's one of the easier corners of the track, and I say easier as if it isn't easy, but you can somewhat feel like you can relax a bit more, but you can still make these errors now. But Mikey up 7 places, he was one to look out. The Wolf also now having to try and look on the back of Ira. It's somewhat of an Aston Martin sandwich, and including the McLarens as well. Anthony Hunt ahead of Sir Spud, followed by Ira, and the Wolf. It says another yellow flag. Is that Trist, I believe, in Aqua Minerale?
Meanwhile, at the front, Hulkenberger with DRS gets past the RB of Clips Curie back into the lead. The championship leader looking to extend that lead even further after the sprint race. But Jolyon Emanu is right there to keep him company. Jay Rabe, unfortunately, just a little bit further behind, but doing a good job for his Alpine team.
Yeah, is that the Wolf getting on ahead? And here we go into Toso. We're going to go with 2 Aston Martins and the McLaren. Surspud's going to brake later as the McLaren has too much grass on that inside tyre. He loses it completely, and that allows the Wolf and Surspud to get ahead. And now it's the 2 Aston Martins ahead of both McLaren. So that's played very well into Aston Martin's hands.
Yeah, very nice. And we know Sir Spud. I mean, he'll be the first to admit he's not the quickest driver on the circuit. But by God, does he just keep it clean, keep it out of trouble. And he gets great results because of it. And to be fair, this season he is showing a great turn of pace along with O'Steven in that kick Sauber. So very good to see from the veterans of IRL. Meanwhile, near the front, Hulkenberger was going to have Clips Curie for company. The DRS opens. The question is, that DRS is open on Clips, isn't it? Yes, it is. But that car seems to be incredibly draggy.
Yeah, I think a bit of a combination of incredible straight line speed on that Mercedes and just a draggy V-carb through there. And he's nearly was having a look at even Hulkenberger. Yeah, no, this is the fight here. The Mercedes fighting the Alpines in the constructors as well. So all these points are so crucial to both teams. They're not going to leave anything on the table.
Yeah, the Mercedes, the leading constructor coming in. Yeah, not quite sure. I think Triskin is having a moment in the Ravazzas, bringing out the yellow flag very briefly. Oh, as Jolyon Emanu just goes a little bit wide through Piratella, had to back right out of the throttle as we have Clips Curie with J. Ray Bay for company, and Iron's on his way as well. The top 5 covered by about 2-3 seconds here at the moment, which is great to see for us. Battles right at the front, and this is going to make for a very interesting sort of 27 laps left in this race.
Yeah, it somewhat is. Clips Curie is a bit of the cork in the bottle here because he's in between that fight of the Alpines and the Mercedes. But interesting, these top 5 all on the medium.
I think Hulkenberger just had a massive slide out of Ravazza.
Yeah, no, I saw that as well. But this is going to be who butts first. As now, Jolyon Emanu has that DRS open, and even that straight line speed of that Mercedes is absolutely rapid and gets ahead. And is that J-Ray Bay and Clips Curie? J-Ray Bay going to try and go around the outside and just gets ahead of the V-carb. So one Alpine winning out, the other losing, but that's Alpine 2 and 3 now, so maybe they can play some more tactical points here. But Klipskiri on the back of J-Ray, but he won't be able to get through as Trist gets a 3-second time penalty.
The Wolf gets past O'Steven as well into Tamburello, so he's moving up the order into 7th place. Unfortunately can't quite drag Sir Spud, who's got Ira still for company further behind. But back towards the front we go, and Julian Amanu, 7/10 to the good. The question is, can he pull away? Because let's face it, round Imola, if you can get a second clear of your rival before the DRS zone, you've got a very good chance of being able just to gap everyone and control the race. But in order to do that, it's amazing. Only one DRS zone, and yet it's such a crucial thing to get outside 1 second.
Yeah, no, it is crucial around here, but the DRS detection point is actually before Ravazza here, so Hulkenberger is definitely within it. But Julian Amano seems to still pull away through the corners, keeping it around 7/10, so he has good downforce, and obviously that incredible straight line speed, but we'll see how much speed he's got when he doesn't have that rear wing flap open. And now it's Hulkenberger, but you can still see that gap around 8/10, barely coming down. Obviously, it'll affect more into the turn 1, and it brings it to 5/10. But still, that Mercedes has got some good speed.
Yeah, and Iron now gets up into the top 4, so the 2 leading constructors are now 1 to 4. As Hulkenberger picks up 3 seconds of time penalty, that is huge in the context of this race, considering how close it is. 3 seconds, that is going to drop you to 5th right now, so not ideal for the championship leader.
Yeah, no, it's so important, because even if you try and make that up in this stage, you never know, a safety car late on brings the whole pack together, and of course you can't serve that penalty, so it really will have implications on this race. But you can see J-Ray Bay is right on the rear wing of Hulkenberg, so maybe Hulkenberg is struggling a bit to turn in that car, and that's put J-Ray Bay right on the back, but it's still within DRS range here, so let's see what the Alpines do, because he does have Iron catching up to J-Ray.
Yeah, this is the question. It's still very early on to, as I think Trist has a little bit of a moment coming out of Aki Minerali, briefly bringing out, is that, I don't think that's Trist, actually, that could be someone else, that could be Coke actually, having a bit of issue through Aki Minerali. Their dot's going to look very similar on the map, to be honest, nowadays. But J-Ray Bay, the problem is it's very early to decide who's going to go for the Drivers' Championship, but let's face it, Hulkenberger's in a great position, but the Alpines also need to score good points because the Mercedes are ahead of them.
Yeah, no, they also need to do this tactically as well. Who bolts first, of course, for that. Oh, Hulkenberger gets a massive slide. He's kept it going, luckily, but he might concede position to his teammate as J-Ray now gets a slide. Both Alpines having a little bit of a loose moment here. That's put Iron right on the rear, but now J-Ray gets let go. Oh, they're very close on the rear, but they're still so close. Iron is got an amazing view of this, and that's crucially let Julian Manu 2.4 ahead. No DRS for either Alpine. Well, I say either Alpine, whoever is ahead.
Yeah, both of them just losing all form of rear grip coming out of Tosa, and they were basically just like a mobile roadblock for a good couple of seconds. And because neither of them had a good exit, they've both lost significant time. So Julian Manu is in a really nice position now. He can just start to control this pace and monitor that gap, because let's face it, the Alpines right now are not going to be a threat. If anything, Hulkenberger could be under threat from Iron, because I think he's going to run the same setup as his teammate. The two Alpines once again block the road as they go side by side into Tamburello. It's a great team game there at the moment to be had to make sure Iron can't get anywhere past them. Although he gets a good run out of Tamburello, looks to the inside of the Villeneuve chicane but backs out of it. Probably a wise move. You've pretty much got to be fully alongside to even consider that move to start with.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. He made the right decision to back out of there. But important, Klipskiri, at the closest one to this fight, has gone for the first stop of the race. He's gone to the hard. So this is the important thing. How much more ahead will he be of these full runners? Will any of them respond to that? Their fight is with each other here. But it'll be intriguing to see how far ahead Klipskiri will be with that undercut. We know it's strong here. We saw it last night as well. Obviously in different conditions. But it is powerful.
Ira picks up 3 seconds of penalties, and yeah, rightly so. I mean, just this game in general, the undercut is a massive, massive advantage. but you still got to drive the car to make it work. And the other problem is that we don't really know exactly how many laps that hard tyre will do, because I mean yesterday everyone had the luxury of starting on the wet tyres and going to sort of like lap 12 to 16 before they had to put on those hard tyres, whereas these guys, because they're starting on the mediums, they're going a lot shorter, so they're going to have to really extend. Oh, big moment there for Coke coming out of Ravazza, just about gathers it up. But yeah, these guys going into uncharted territory with that hard tyre of how long it will actually last.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a guessing game now, but they'll use Clips Curie, I guess, as a reference point. How much pace has he got now? But obviously, they'll have to use the other runners of the likes of Coke, Mikey. How's their pace doing after 10 laps? Because if their pace significantly drops off, that's a bit of an indication that the tyres are going up. Is that Stephen getting ahead? No, that's just the pit stops. So, yeah.
At the front though, Holkenberger back into second ahead of Jay Raybay, so I say these two Alpines working together to make sure they block the road and stop any chance of Iron getting through right now. But they're not, as I think possibly Trist Games in Tosa having a bit of an issue. Yeah, the two Alpines working together quite nicely here to keep Iron at bay, and they're not losing as much time to Juliana Manu, but they are losing time to him.
Yeah, no, the gap is just hovering around 2.6, but now obviously they're doing the right thing here. They're not just holding back, they're making the overtake on each other lap after lap after lap because of how powerful that DRS is. So it's somewhat pushing them along, really. But it's just the important thing is how much are they ahead by from Iron, but the gap's still staying around 2.6 as Matty Rudd comes into the pits.
Yeah, Matty Rudd into the pits to take those medium tyres off. They've obviously cried enough on that Williams, but the top guys probably going to try and go as long as they can to maybe see if they can make this into a one-stop, because I think lap 9, lap 10, you're probably looking potentially at a two-stop race still, depending on how the hards wear. As Jack, the captain of everything, because he's in the pits now as well. Jack is on the back of Matty Rudd, but I don't think anything's going to come of this, because obviously the two Williams drivers, Jack still has to make another pit stop here. Matty Rudd's just come back out of the pit, so he's getting those tyres nice and warm. So Jack may be going to have to act as a bit of a barrier to O'Stephen to ensure that Matty doesn't get pressurised by the kick Sauber.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can't hold back too much. But I don't know if this is correct, but Matty Rudd, obviously pitting a few laps later than Kiri, he's come out around 13 to 12 seconds.
Oh, and O'Stephen, sorry, interrupting. O'Stephen managing to get a move after, well, on the second half of Piratella. And down into Acaminerali, and both Williams picking up 3 seconds of penalties. Matty Rudd at Piratella, Jack at Acaminerali, so not ideal for the two Williams, as Stephen yet to pick up a penalty.
Yeah, Jack as well has that right wing end plate damage, so he's going to have to carry that until he makes a stop, or if he'll change that at the stop. But yeah, no, going back to the front of the field. Oh, Coke loses it out of Tamburello. Luckily not gone into the wall. Of course, a yellow flag briefly, hopefully as he gets onto the track safely. He does. Oh, and he loses the rear again. Oh, super tough to get back onto the track with the gravel.
Could this cause a virtual safety car, because he's in that gravel, he's on the exit of Tamburello. It's a dangerous place to be. He's going to have to be ever so careful getting back on the circuit. We saw this yesterday. As soon as the tyres get dirty, it's a nightmare trying to get it back on circuit, because as soon as you try and apply the throttle, they just spin up, and we saw with Owen, it just spat him back onto the circuit.
Yeah, no, it's as if you have no grip at all, and I think maybe another moment down at Tosa for him. But yeah, no, important.
Trist Games getting out of the way of people.
Juliana Manu into the pit stop, and so does Hulkenberger. So one Mercedes and one Alpine stays out. The other pits, of course, they can't double stack. They're too close to double stack. So this could really shake up this order at the front four.
Yellow flag for, I think, an RB or a Red Bull.
It's the VCARB, yes, the RB of Trist.
Okay.
Just getting a little bit wrong at Aquaman.
And something to note, look where Clips Kiri is. Ahead of Juliana Manu. By a good 3 seconds as well.
Yeah, no, that's important as well. Sometimes here, if you have that pace, I've said it before, it can be incredibly annoying if you are the faster driver, but you just can't get out that 1 second gap to the car behind. So he is in clear air now, so he can pump in these lap times. But what's the strategy difference? Because they are 4 lap order tyres. So if he's trying to keep this to a one stop, that's 4 lap order towards the end of the race, and that'll hurt him more compared to the likes of Juliana Manu.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have the gap to the leader wrong currently because it's going to see how it goes. J. Ray Bay has a 20.8 second gap to Clips Kiri. Juliana Manu came out around 23 and a bit seconds from J. Ray Bay, which means it's about a 25-26 second stop as J. Ray Bay comes in. Right now, J. Ray Bay may be looking to come out just behind Hulkenberger, maybe a second or two behind as the Wolf picks up a place against Mikey. He's up to 7th. I think that's Triss Games allowing some people through again as he gets lapped. Triss Games, again, a fantastic driving from him, making sure he stays out of the way of the leading cars and just gaining that experience lap after lap.
Yep, Clips is going to be ahead here, well ahead, and he is well ahead of
this could get interesting. Ira, oh my word, having to take avoiding action. Clips the back of Hulkenberg, I think, and loses some end plates. But obviously not the fault at all of Jay Raber. He's just coming out of the pits. Ira nearly going into the back of him, having to avoid him as he was looking to try and make a move on Hulkenberger or sort of defend. And he goes wide through Villeneuve, probably because he now has no end plates whatsoever, which one end plate you can get away with, two not so much.
Yeah, no, you can just see him now struggling. I had a similar moment last night. In fact, I can tell you this definitely. It is the scariest thing when a car is coming out of the pit lane. Much slower speeds, of course. It's a long straight, so you're hitting those high end top speeders. Clips Kiri though, 1.5 ahead in the lead.
Stephen has lost main plane of the front wing on the left hand side. There was a brief yellow flag at Tosa, and it looks like it was for the Kicksauber of O'Stephen. He's going to have to make a pit stop and get that changed. Mikey gets overtaken by Matty Rudd. And we're going to swap this back to the intervals because everyone has pretty much pitted except for Ira. Jack has made a pit stop, but that was early on. Mikey and Coke also still to pit, I think. Or if not, they've already pitted once and will have to pit again. The Wolf past Ira as he pits. And don't be surprised if the Kicksauber of O'Stephen comes in the pits to get that front wing changed.
And as you say, he does come into the pits. So
and picked up 10 seconds of penalties for his troubles.
Yeah, no, drivers struggling on this game a lot to get that car slowed down into the braking point and obviously into the pit lane. But Ira really solidifying this one stop, taking the punishment early on, going long on those mediums. So he is in the best chance if he wants to take this to a one stop, which I do believe the front runners are as well. But now hopefully he should have some fresh tyres well to the end now.
At the front though, it is just half a second as Juliana Manu closes in on the leading RB of Clips Kiri now. Clips is in a sort of a nice position. I mean, he does have that penalty. However, he does have a nice gap back to Hulkenberger. As Juliana Manu looks to the inside, thinks better of it. But yeah, Clips Kiri in a nice place here. Okay, he's got that tyre disadvantage, but at least he's got a little bit of time to work with. And maybe as Juliana Manu goes through, hopefully he can stick on the back of that Mercedes and sort of use him like a tow car on a motorway.
I think that Mercedes is rather fast in the straight line. You can just see how much traction as well on the exit of Ravazza too. So he's just got so much straight line speed and does have a good amount of downforce into the corners, does Juliana Manu. But no, that was important. He needed to clear that V-carb, just not to allow any of the Alpines to close up. But the Alpine story still goes as far. Hulkenberg ahead of Jerry Bay, and he does have the lights of Iron just around in a second. But the Wolf has quietly gotten up into 6th. Matty Rudd was in 6th before. So he's gotten ahead of Matty Rudd. So that's a good place for the Wolf to be. He's had an amazing start, in fact. He's moved up he's gone up 10 places, in fact, has the Wolf. So good recovery drive so far from the Aston Martin driver.
Absolutely. We're having a quick look at Coke because he's on the back of Jack TM53. So obviously Jack and Coke will still have to come back in the pits for another stop. We got a yellow flag. That is for JMB Surreal. He spun off out of the Villeneuve chicane. Again, another place where it's very, very easy to spin the car. As Julian Manu puts in the fastest lap of the race, he is looking to get after the lead of this championship as Stephen gets past JMB as he recovers. Meanwhile, Hulkenberger has his teammate and Iron for company in this battle for the final podium place as Jay Rabe looks to the outside of the exit of Tamburello. That's an interesting manoeuvre from the Alpines. Is Hulkenberger thinking, I've got a 3-second penalty, it's not going to go away, let's just try and play protect with Jay for his teammate, but then that allows Iron back past him and Alpine lose more points in the Constructors.
Yeah, it will hurt him to the end of this race, but I think as well Hulkenberger was thinking if he tries and hold up J. Bay, Iron will be right on the rear, and he was there, so I think Hulkenberger did the right thing, swoop in, let J. Bay through somewhat, as Ira gets a 3-second time penalty. But the thing is now, the roles are reversed now. Hulkenberger will get that slipstream, he'll get that DRS, and potentially blast past J. Ray.
One thing I have also just noticed, obviously, just going back to Jack, Coke has got past Jack as Ira gets past JMB. That's down towards Villeneuve. Oh, Jack's in the wall!
Off.
I'm not quite sure. He's just lit it up on the hill. Luckily, amazingly, it's not taken a wheel off the car. He's hit it square, but I think that's even the front wing's not taking any more damage. Incredibly lucky as he spins the rears up on those dirty tyres. Trist Games unfortunately has come in the pits and retired again, which is a big shame. Obviously, it's not the best when you're being lapped sort of multiple times, but ultimately you're not. I think he just needs as many laps as possible just to get into this game and learn it. Jack does come into the pits, and he speeds in the pit lane as well. Not ideal for Jack. TM53 synopsis. I know he likes this circuit, and it's just not been his day.
Yeah, no, sometimes you might love it, but it might not love you back, as Coke has the Ferrari of It's the Cat right on his rear wing. He's going to have to make that one very wide Red Bull as we go up the hill and towards Piratella. But he should stay ahead. But a massive tyre offset, 17 lap hard versus 7 lap on the Ferrari. So I'd imagine this won't take long for It's the Cat to get through.
You see the braking performance into Accu Minerali, that Ferrari just a little bit more bolted with a bit more grip up towards Variante Alta. Flick it right, flick it left, look from behind as Jay Rabe has quietly got up to the back of Clips and overtaken him. And this is big news because if Clips Curie can, if Hulkenberg gets past Clips Curie and Clips Curie holds up Iron, the Alpines could still find themselves with a double podium here, even with Hulkenberger's penalty. But it could be a very big ask as It's the Cat down the main straight. I say that as Coke's actually come into the pit. And once again, picks up another driver to pick up a 10-second penalty. I think drivers don't realise just how early that pit lane line is for the speed. It's incredibly early here at Emilia. You're pretty much diving. As soon as you dive off, you're pretty much instantly on the brakes to get it slowed down.
Yeah, it is actually one of the longest pit stops actually on the calendar. You break in very early and you come out quite late on the straight. So that's what also tries to keep you towards a one stop, because if you make that two stop, you also have that pain of a longer pit lane to go through. I was going to say, Clips Curie could cause a bit of havoc if, he gets the DRS of J-Ray, because that could cause issues for Hulkenberger to get through. But he has just gotten out of that DRS, so you do imagine then Hulkenberger should have this fairly easy. He'll have the slipstream, he'll have the battery to deploy, and he'll have the DRS, so easy move down here. What about Iron though? Iron needs to get through, and he switches to the right hand side, and he does get that done nicely. But this is important. J. Ray Bay though is over a second from his teammate, so Hulkenberger now will be somewhat defensive. Will we see J. Ray maybe pull back a little bit, or will he just try and clear this now?
I think the question is, what sort of pace does J. Ray Bay have? Because if he has the pace to maybe closing on Julian Manu, it might be that the Alpine team just say, crack on, get to the front. But it all depends what his pace looks like in the next lap or two as to what really happens. Obviously, they want to play the team game, but it's also a few extra points if you can get in front of the Mercedes that's leading, or at current pace. you'd have to say that J-Ray Bay isn't quite got the pace to catch up to Julian and Manu before the end of this race.
Well, saying that, J-Ray Bay has taken around 2/10 on this lap out of Julian and Manu. So, and it is starting to come down a bit as I speak. So, who knows? There's still plenty of laps to go, 12 laps to go when we cross the line. So, a little bit of lap, and you can see it now, 3.6. So, J-Ray Bay, he's going to try and get the likes of that Mercedes up front. But the closest battle could be here. Iron on Hulkenberg. He's got the DRS. He's gaining. Can it be enough? It's well enough. Well into the braking point as well. And he's up into P3 as the Alpine slams into the back of the Mercedes. He gets a 3-second time penalty. I imagine that was more on track limits rather than the contact itself. But slams into the back of that Mercedes. And he does have end plate damage from that contact. So that's really hurt him through there.
Yeah, not ideal for Hulkenberger, especially when you got Clips behind on the same penalty. So this is now for position of P4, though the Wolf is slowly catching these guys up. He's only 2.2 behind. I did just see as well JMB Cyril getting it all wrong at Tosa on the map. He had a bit of a spin, so he is back down in 17th. And Anthony Hunt comes into the pits off of those hard tyres onto a set of mediums for the final 12 laps. Although it's going to be less, as he's now probably going to be nearly lapped by Jolian and Manu, who's just coming through Ravazza too. Meanwhile, Clips Kiri looks to the inside of Ravazza, thinks better of it. As JMB, that could potentially be in for a retirement or just another pit stop and get some more laps on the board. As oh, hello. Oh, Clips Kiri. So Hulkenberger in the pits to probably get a new wing. Clips in the pits for some new tyres, but he now picks up 10 seconds of penalties. I thought he was going to slam into the back of Hulkenberger then coming into the pits.
Yeah, that's very lucky that did not happen, because that would put somewhat a 10-second penalty on Hulkenberg as he's retired.
Wow.
That was not to be anticipated. That's a very odd. He has 46 seconds to the likes of the Ferrari, so he's still well in the points with Hulkenberger. That's a shame. Did he not have many? Maybe did he not have any tyres left to go? But,
the game's putting back on some hard tyres, so that's amazing. And you have to remember, there's no drop scores in IRL. It's not like you can just go, "Oh, that's fine. This will be a drop score," because there isn't any. Every point counts in this championship, and the championship leader decides it's not worth continuing on in this race when the top 12 score points. I am completely bemused by that one.
Very odd, yeah.
I'm sorry, even more bemused by JMB Cyril's tyre strat. That's an interesting slick tyre he's gone on to there. The rare
slicks maybe.
it's the rare Greenwald C.5 tyre.
I mean, I admire the similarity to the nature of the track, but
I mean, I wonder, because I think he sped in the pit lane. I wonder if he's done that because he then wants to come back in, get and serve his 10 seconds.
As you say that, Jordan, spot on. Comes back into the pit lane.
Yeah, I wonder if he changed it on his way down the pit lane so that he could come in, serve the 10 seconds with some slicks on, and he doesn't waste a set of tyres almost. Yeah, there's your 10-second penalty, and soft tyres going on to that Haas.
Yeah, so essentially he'll have, 9 laps to go, so, he'll be struggling towards the end, but should be fine.
Meanwhile,
but
Coke
up front,
getting past the Ferrari of Mikey. Mikey also going past his temporary teammate of It's the Cat as he comes out of the pits. Though Stephen and I are also picking up a place each as well. It's going to be a bit interesting fight between Mike and O'Steven, both of them on equal tyres. Iyer are probably in a better position on 8-lap hold hard tyres. But I would also say Clips Kiri's only dropped to 6th after making a second pit stop onto another set of hards.
Yeah, and as well, massive tyre delta will be there, so keep an eye out for him. He could still get in this top 5. But as we've been seeing all that, J-Ray Bay has brought that to under 2 seconds.
Yeah, he's showing some great pace in the Alpine. It's just a shame his teammate's retired because if J-Bay gets into the lead of this race, he's not going to be able to cover the Mercedes on his own. Even if Hulkenberg couldn't cover the Mercedes, it would have dealt less of a blow. And speaking of teams with good points so far, Aston Martin, the Wolf, in fourth. Sir Spud, I think, has now made 2 stops. I'm just going to double check that. Yes, he has, yeah. And he's in 7th, so Sir Spud having a great race, but he does have Coke for company. Although I would say Sir Spud in a better position tyre-wise.
Yeah, no, he might pay a bit of the price now because of obviously those mediums will be fast at this stage. As
Contact between
Stephen
and Mikey. Mikey's going to get a 3-second corner cut penalty. He's going to have to relinquish that place to O'Stephen. There's contact, I think. Some front wing going missing, I think, for O'Stephen. Ira and it's the cat pick up places. O'Stephen into 11th, Mikey in 12th. I'm not really sure what transpired there, but I know 2 men aren't going to be the best of friends at the end of this race.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they were still going at it there into Tosa, but it just shows you there's all these little scraps going on everywhere around the field. As it goes quite wide, Stephen, but keeps it somehow going straight as the Ferrari now right on the rail.
This is getting tasty between the Ferrari and the Sauber, possibly not tasty in the right way. It's allowing Jack to come back into this for potential points for the Williams team as Clips Kiri gets past Matty because Matty's come into the pits for medium tyres. Matty not going to get overtaken because the Spud's so far behind, so it's almost like a free pit stop for Matty onto a set of medium tyres. He'll get those heated up and going again, but yeah, it's definitely tasty between Stephen and Mikey. That's just settled down just a little bit for now as Jack now approaches the rear of Mikey, and both of them into the pits, I think, with damage.
Yeah, certainly. Now the other Ferrari, though, having a look at Ira going into turn 1, or technically 2, into, just a little bit close, but Ira stays ahead. Yeah, going into the corner, and luckily they're okay as far, but no, Stephen and Mikey will come out similar place, or no, Stephen's serving a penalty, so they'll be split. So hopefully nothing going more wrong there, but Ira trying to defend off the other Ferrari, of It's a Cat, and he makes that McLaren through and ahead, but he's on a considerably older and slower tyre at this stage, so the Ferrari is just going to have to try and bite his time and get through when he can. As the Aqua Minerale they go, and you can just see the McLaren complaining on the rear, complaining on the entry, and complaining on the exit. And the Ferrari really going to have to just wait and sit back through here.
Yeah, I think It's the Cat may be looking to as far as It's the Cat, I'd just be waiting, use the grip on the exit of Ravazza.
Sorry to cut in, Jordan. Red Bull off, wing gone into Ravazza 2. There is a bit of debris, but he has to rejoin this safely. I just went on board as he lost the rear. I was so scared that was going to be a safety car or a VSC. Luckily, nothing going.
He nearly spins into the pit lane as he tries to get it slowed down in time. Incredible scenes.
Yeah, so luckily, and he does serve his 10-second penalty as Jack gets a 3-second penalty. But up at the front, 1.6, the gap somewhat stabilising between Julian Amanu and J. Ray Bay. So Julian Amanu trying to find some pace, and he is responding that quite well so far.
Ira still defending from It's the Cat. Remember, It's the Cat, even though he's in the Ferrari, he's not scoring points for Ferrari. He is a solo reserve driver. As he looks towards Piratella, I'm amazed that It's the Cat didn't get Ira in that on the main straight, although I don't know how much he'd have been affected by those yellow flags, and making sure he avoided Coke as he returned to track. Maybe this is the lap that he gets it done. It's also worth knowing Jack does have 16 seconds worth of time penalties on him, so something to look out for at the end of this race, as he picked up 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane earlier.
Yeah, so he's at the moment currently in P10, but bear in mind there are penalties behind him, 6 seconds roughly worth of penalties, so he does have a 6-second gap as well to the nearest driver. So if he can start to clear a bit more time off there, he could still finish in the top 10, but we see the Ferrari still further behind Ira, as here comes Jack actually on the Ferrari, and he gets that move nicely and done well before the braking point, even with the Ferrari having DRS. So clearly that Ferrari is struggling on straight line speed, and that McLaren is absolutely stacked on top speed. So that's the way it looks to be. But Jack now in the middle of this little fight, and we'll hope to try and clear the McLaren next.
So for those watching, asking about the penalties, yep, those are the penalties on your screen. Clips Kiri has 16 seconds worth of penalties. Matty Rudd has 3, Ira 6, Jack 16, Anthony Hunt, Mikey, Madman all have 6. We've got a yellow flag down at Tosa for some reason. Not quite sure what's happened there, but obviously nothing too major. O'Stephen has 3, Coke and GMB both have a 6. So.
And Jordan, crucially now, 1.1 or just now under 1 second between Jolyon Amanu and J Ray Bay. So here we go for the last 4 laps. It will be when we cross the line. Could we have a fight for the lead here? This will be incredible.
Yeah, apparently Hulkenberg retired because the pits didn't change. His pit crew didn't change his front wing. The only problem with the F1 game is that if it's only minor damage, even though if you do feel it, it's only minor. The game won't change it if it's on auto. If you want that front wing changed, you should always put yes on your options on the MFD. As Jack gets past Ira up into 8th place, and now he's got to run like the wind to try and keep it. But back at the front, J Ray Bay 7/10 behind Jolyon Amanu using the DRS, and he's now starting to close in. And this could be perfect timing for J Ray Bay, as he might close in for the last sort of 2-3 laps, which is perfect, because I think around here you almost want to not make the move until that last lap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you could just see how much pure pace and how much grip that Alpine's got even through Tosa. He's really ringing the back of that Mercedes. But we know how much straight line speed that Mercedes has got. But he is struggling for battery. You could see him recharging so much to cover him
Jack's
off.
Jack's had a moment out of Ackerman in a rally. He's lost a couple of places, but he's still going at the moment. But we are focusing on this battle for the lead as we come to the closing stages of this race.
As well, bear in mind, it's a Mercedes 1-3 at the moment. Could Jolyon Amanu try and play this to the way that brings Iron into this? Could that potentially be a thing? Well, if they start squabbling enough, it will definitely bring Iron in. That's one thing. But J Ray Bay is really, really close through here. It's just, does he have enough of a drive? Does he have enough straight line speed to get ahead? But he's got a pretty good drive out here, I think, Jordan. Could this be the moment that the lead changes?
It could very much well be as the DRS opens. We got a yellow flag though in Tamburello. So he's got to get it done before, and I think he did. I think he got his nose ahead just as they entered the yellow flag zone. So J Ray Bay, a fantastically timed opportunistic move with the yellow flags ahead. I don't know who that was that went off. I think potentially it might have been Jack, because he's now behind Anthony Hunt. So Jack having further issues, but J Ray Bay, oh, you couldn't have timed it to any more perfection, getting it just ahead of that yellow flag zone.
Yeah, no, he just timed it perfectly there. But this is the thing: can Jolyon Amanu stay with that 1 second? It's so close, and now he is out already. So this pace from J Ray Bay in the later stage of this Grand Prix has been absolutely on it. Whether that's the fuel burning down, the car being much more comfortable, that's definitely a factor to play. But now Jolyon Amanu creeps back into that 1 second. But what about the traction point here? Such an important traction, and he looks to be just within the detection point, which is just there. And this is the thing: Jolyon Amanu has a rocket ship on the straight. We've seen it as a yellow flag. I think that's Coke. But we've seen Jolyon Amanu with DRS is an absolute rocket ship, but he's fallen a bit back through the Ravazzas.
Yeah, I think Jolyon Amanu maybe using a bit of ERS out of variant outer to get into that DRS zone, but then obviously not having the grip through Ravazzas as we head into Tamburello for the penultimate time now. The question is, I think J Ray Bay needs about sort of a second and a half coming out of variant outer to ensure Jolyon Amanu doesn't get DRS, and this is going to be crucial now for this final lap, because if Jolyon Amanu is on the back of J Ray Bay going into Ravazza 2, J Ray Bay is at very high risk of losing this win just because of that DRS zone.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and now the gap is actually closer this time round than it was a lap before. As this was going on, I think
sorry to interrupt, the Wolf has gone into the pits.
Yes, I was actually going to say that. Onto the softs. Now he's given the position, but Klipskiri has 16 seconds of penalty, so he's going to get him regardless. So that might not be a half bad strat from the Wolf. So he will claim the fastest lap, of course.
Well, that's if he does get the fastest lap, obviously. I mean, there's no guarantee, even on the soft tyre. You've still got to put the lap in.
Well, he's got one lap to do so, and he's got the freshest tyre of the bunch. So I think I'd put high chance on him to get it. But Julian Amani, though, out of DRS, no, he's got it still. So he's still keeping with us as we actually now, Jordan, I can't believe it already, we're on the final lap, and this might be the final opportunity as he's gaining so much as that Alpine recharges the battery, but it's just not enough now. But it's one lap to go, everything to give from Julian Amani, I'm sure, as there's a car there coming up too. Hopefully the lap cars will get out of the way as Jack gets a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, I think that is Jack ahead, maybe trying to keep pace to try and stay out of the way of the leaders at the moment. Because he is trying to chase after Anthony Hunt, although he isn't going to get that place because of the penalties he's got. But I think he's also just trying to stay out of the way of the leaders. As J. Ray Bay comes into Piratella then for the final time. Jolien Amanu's 8 tenths back. I think he's going to have to admit defeat on this one. We haven't seen him be quicker than J. Ray Bay all the way through the middle sector.
Yeah, no, I think the middle sector, J. Ray has got, well, 1 lap fresher tyres, so maybe that's playing in the way, looking after the tyres a little bit better and having more to play with. But at this stage, it seems to be the way of J. Ray Bay as he comes through Ravazza 1. He's got the Williams ahead of him, but it shouldn't really affect him too much. He's cleared the second Ravazza, get the traction, keep it safe. But for the third race of Invictus Racing League Tier 2, it's J. Ray who takes victory in Imola.
Juliana Manu picks up a wonderful second place. It's a double podium for Mercedes. They strengthen their charge at the front of the constructors. A huge result for those two guys there. Madman and Mikey having a scrap through Villeneuve. Not Villeneuve. Where's that to? They're having a scrap somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. I think actually up to the line, and Madman gets Mikey by 0.1 of a second. Obviously, people being lapped. Clips Kiri is going to come home 4th on the road, but it's going to be 5th because Clips Kiri, the Wolf, will pick up 4th place. A great result from him from near the back of the grid. Matty Rudd, I think he's not quite going to be close enough to Clips Kiri there. It's my mistake. He is close enough to Clips Kiri to pick up 5th place. So Clips back down to 6th. Sir Spud, a fantastic race from him, staying out of trouble. Nice quiet race. 7th place is his. A fantastic drive from the Aston Martin.
Keep an eye out with the Cat. He's got some amazing traction over that McLaren. He's been on the rear wing on this final lap. Has he got enough though? On the final corner, oh, the rear sliding.
It's not going to matter because of the penalties at play. It's the Cat will take 8th place from Ira. Anthony Hunt will claim 10th, and because Madman was lapped, Jack is going to keep 11th place.
And Jack does it in style.
Yeah, well, the problem is because Madman was a lap behind, and he's never going to be able to complete the full distance. It doesn't actually matter what Jack does at that point because he will never fall behind, because he's technically completed more laps than Madman.
An interesting loophole.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that's probably why you saw Jack actually not really care about the penalty for corner cutting, just making sure he stayed ahead of the leaders, because it almost ensured that position, which obviously nothing sort of illegal in doing that, staying ahead and keeping that position. So good sort of racing brain there from Jack, it must be said.
Yeah, no, you got it absolutely spot on. But this man right here, he's done what he needs to do in those later stages, and he takes victory at Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
So provisional results are: J. Ray Bay takes the win from Jolien Amanu, Iron the Wolf 4th and 3rd and 4th, Matty Rudd 5th, Clips Kiri 6th, Sir Spud 7th, It's the Cat 8th, Ira is in 9th, Anthony Hunt in 10th. Jack 11th, Madman 12th, Mikey 13th, Coke 14th, O'Stephen 15th, JMB Surreal, the last of the finishers in 16th, 2 laps down. Hulkenberger, Trist and Barrett, unfortunately, all retirees of the race.
Must be said as well, the Wolf driver of the day, and understandably so, started this race 16th, coming up into 4th place. Amazing drive, kept it clean where he could, had a little bit of an error on the first lap, but he recovered nicely into P4, so good points for the Aston Martins there.
And it turns out for Jack Team 53 synopsis, he had a broken rear wing from lap 1.
Oh wow, so that will we did see him a bit on the rear completely, having nothing, so that makes a lot of sense. So actually, these corners, these chicanes, these fast corners, Tamburello, these are the corners that you do not want that damage, because you're somewhat going into it with commitment. You need that rear to stick, otherwise it's just going to get away from you. So no, great effort from that. We didn't obviously know that at the time, but now knowing that was incredible driving for Jack to get it into P11.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff to hear, and I must admit, also credit goes to JMB Surreal for finishing that race. I mean, there's multiple times he could have sort of gone in the pits, retired, and called it a day, but he carried on, finished the race. So spirit of the race there, I think, going to JMB.
Yeah, no, absolutely as well. But yeah, no, I still will question that retirement from Hulkenberger. These points are so crucial. They are important, especially between this battle of Mercedes and Alpine. As much as the likes of J. Ray Bay can do, it's, you need both cars up there.
Absolutely, and I think that's going to mean that I think iRun is potentially going to take over the lead of this championship from his teammate in Julian Amanu. Jay Raybay is about to propel himself up the order. So yeah, good stuff all around. And once again, Tier 2 providing some stellar action on circuits. But we look forward to next week, Aaron. And I've got two words really for next week: the Principality.
Oh yes, the one and only Monte Carlo, or Monaco if you'd call it. So yeah, no, this now, yes, Imola is very important in qualifying with track position, but you basically will make or break your race if you do not get it right in qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, I will say, Trist. I've been informed Trist is a girl, so we do apologise for calling you he. Um, Obviously, nothing intentional there. But yeah, the Principality. It's qualifying so important, but the walls are just magnetic around there, and we've seen it in the past. Absolute carnage. Just staying out of the wars is absolutely crucial, and I think for the likes of Sir Spud, it's his sort of type of race in terms of just don't worry about anyone else, drive your own race, and steer clear of anything that's silver and shiny.
Absolutely, but it also does come into play that strategy will be really important, because just getting holed up by one car, if you don't have anywhere to try and get through, which is very possible around the streets of Monaco, it really can break the whole race and your whole strategy. So you need to be aware of these undercuts. Obviously, we know this game is very strong with undercuts, so that's something to consider. And who knows the weather even for next week? So could be wet, could be dry. We don't know, but no, that would be definitely a spicy race to come forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Spudger's coming up with asking a question, asking who gets fastest lap, as because Coke actually got the fastest lap. The Wolf didn't get it, as we said. It's one thing to have the tyres, another thing to get the lap in. On the basis that Coke got fastest lap, no one gets the point for fastest lap because Coke claims fastest lap, but is outside of the points. So no one gets a point in that respect. So yeah, Coke doing well to relieve anyone else of an extra bonus point.
I guess if you can't get it, at least don't let anyone else get it. Is the way of Coke's going for that one. But yeah, no, it's the thing is, it's going to be just such a tough track next week. I just can't wait for it, honestly speaking. But it's like you said, the walls just close in on you. But every little bit of margin that you leave is lap time around there. So it'll be fortune favours the ball definitely around there.
Yeah, and the other thing with Monaco as well, I always used to find when driving it, it's what was it, a 39 lap race around the Principality, and it always felt like it took forever. Like you'd go around, you'd feel like you've done quite a lot of laps. You'd look up, and all of a sudden you still got 25 laps left to go. It's like how have I only done sort of like 15 laps?
Yeah, and of course, being so much shorter compared to all the tracks on the calendar, it does mean the laps do get increased. As well, it does have the slowest corner on the entire calendar, which is the into the hotel section. So yeah, all those features just count for more laps, and more laps can sometimes get a bit annoying. But you also figure going to a track like Monaco, where qualifying is so important, you do realise that you need that car to almost feel like you're going in a time trial, because the race is almost won and lost somewhat. Of course, anything can happen in the main Grand Prix, but you've got to get that qualifying right to the point that it'll almost feel like a time trial session.
Yeah, and we've seen in the past people with the sort of like damage to wings. Doesn't really matter as long as you keep it in the middle of the circuit. The key element is just covering off your opponents and almost being the last one to pit. But you have to make sure you're only a lap on the overrun to ensure that overcut doesn't happen. But there's only one way to find out how it all works out, and that's going to next week and watching it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can speculate all we want, but ultimately, it is what it is, and we'll find out next week.
Absolutely, and Spud, no worries at all. Obviously, feel free to ask any questions on the stream. Me and Aaron are always happy to answer them as we go through the stream. But for now, that's all we have time for Tier 2. Join us next week as we head to the duel of F1 at the streets of Monaco. It's going to be a belter, an interesting race. You could describe it in many, many ways, but it's certainly going to be one that you're going to want to have to watch. And obviously next week we also have Tier 1 on Monday at 8 p.m. UK time, sort of BST. And Jack will be in the commentary box with Mikey for that one. Now that he's back from holiday, you'll have Jack and Mikey in the commentary box for that one on Monday. And then obviously myself and ARL are back on Tuesday for Tier 2. It's going to be a fantastic week of racing. And as always, if you've enjoyed this stream, please do give it a like, subscribe to the Invictus Racing League channel, because there's more racing to come in Season 21, where every race is live streamed and commentated on, so you won't want to miss any of the action. Make sure you also put those notifications on so you do get notified when we do go live for each race each week. But for myself and ARL and everyone here at Invictus, thank you for watching tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Join us next week for more, and we hope you have a good rest of your week. But from us for now, goodbye.